Welcome back to part 3 and the final part of the 2022 end of the year AEW awards here for SmarkOutMoment.com. The Smack Talk podcast is going to be the Performer Awards. So go back and check out the Technical Skills Awards and the Writing Awards from AEW, and also all 3 categories from the WWE side of things, where we talk about the best and the worst that happened in these 2 companies. So many different hours of material that we've been doing here over the course of a few days, but we're finally rounding it out. And as you know, we've been doing these, we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about, and we got some bad stuff to talk about too. We want to know what you have to say about all these different categories and what all your awards options are. So leave a comment below, or tweet at us, or voice your opinion in whatever fashion it is. And while you are going through and telling us your opinions about all those different sorts of things, you should tell us your opinions about Smark Out Moment and Smack Talk in general by filling out the fan feedback survey. So that way we have some plans going into 2023 with some new ways to tweak the website and the brand and how to improve going forward. Also, make sure that you are following us all over the different things on Patreon and the YouTube channel membership, and showing your support for the Darkcast and buying stuff on TeePublic and Redbubble and all these different things that we have talked about ad nauseum, so we're not going to get too deep into that. We also don't need to, but I guess we will, just for the sake of it, tell you who we are. If this is your random first video, hey. But I'm Tony Mango, joined by Callum, Wiggins, and Robert DeFelice. And we've got hours and hours and hours of material we've already done, so if you check back out that, you'll figure out who's who. But let's get into the Performer Awards for this. Talk about these about 10 categories or so that we've got going on here, starting off with the best and the worst manager or valet of the year, which we don't have as many going in for this compared to what we did, I think, the last year or so, because some of them ended up actually disappearing. And some people, I don't even know if we would classify them a manager or valet, or just kind of somebody who ended up popping up on Dark, like Kayla Rossi. But for the most part, what we are working with are Alex Abrahantes, Arn Anderson, who really hasn't been there for much, Dan Lambert, not there anymore, Don Callis, Jake the Snake Roberts, Jose Garcia, or Jose the assistant, Mark Sterling, -1, Brady Lee Jr., Rebel, Stokely Hathaway, Taz, Tully Blanchard, Vicky Guerrero, and William Regal. On the worst side of things, there were 2 that stood out to me. Runner-up being Tully Blanchard, because he really just ultimately didn't do much this year, then disappeared. But I'm going to go with Vicky Guerrero for this. I hate the excuse me stuff. It got old a long time ago in WWE, and she didn't need to carry that over into AEW. I don't think her pairing with Nyla Rose makes a whole lot of sense, nor do I think that it's fun or entertaining or interesting. So I would be perfectly fine with Vicky Guerrero not having any on-screen role in AEW.
I think that on screen, she needs to be on screen, because perhaps ignorance on my behalf, I'll say up front that I don't know how much she could offer from behind the scenes.
I mean, be fine with that not being a thing either. I'm just saying I'd rather just not see her on TV.
I went with Tully Blanchard because, similar to how Adam Cole was my most overrated, I was so excited for Tully. I was so excited for Tully, and he's paired with FTR and Spears, and they're doing the Barry Windham black glove gimmick. You guys remember that? With Sean Spears and the black glove? They did nothing. And then FTR fired him this year, and they were going to bring in Brett, but then they couldn't. And Tully was like, hey, I'm in Ring of Honor now. Here's Tully Blanchard Enterprises. You remember that from the 80s? Here's my guys, and I got John Gresham, and just kidding, here's Prince Nana. Like, yeah. What happened? I don't know what happened, and I wish it ended differently. Like I said for so many things this year for AEW.
Both are fine options, but they are not Dan Lambert. Hate Dan Lambert.
I liked a lot of his promos.
I mean, he was so heavily involved in that awful feud between.
Yeah, it's clear that that's the worst thing on TV for you.
Yeah, so Sammy Guevara and Scorpio's guy.
So I'm not gonna. So he's a big part of that, and because I hated that, I also hate him, character-wise. as you know, it's all character-based. But yeah, he's not a fan of his work.
Now on the positives, I think we got some good ones. I've actually liked Mark Sterling quite a bit, and
he's fun.
If it weren't for my number one,
list,
if it weren't for my number one, I would have considered making him number 2. To be honest.
No, he is number 2.
I mean, yeah, that's how that works. If it weren't for my number one, he would be number 1, but he is my number 2. My number 3 is probably Stokely Hathaway, because even though he has a lot of things that really work for him and he really could do a great job, they kind of seemed like they were like start and stop for him a lot this year. Nothing
company really.
Yeah, nothing really kind of like manifested the way that it should. But my number 1 is probably the same as what everybody else has. It's William Regal.
It's absolutely William Regal, because he is amazing, and we got to see so much of Regal in the short time we had him this year, and it was so good. He added levity to everything he did, and then he would go on commentary and be just a laugh with Excalibur and even JR. You know, Regal shined during his brief time in AEW. Callum, make it a 3-per.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely William Regal's going to be the best manager. But I will say that Mark Sterling was 3rd place and 2nd place for me. And I know it's a little bit cheeky because of the wrestler side of things, but he did only wrestle 7 matches this year. Billy Gunn.
I mean, he is.
Oh, Daddy,
yeah. I would consider him potentially a manager. Yeah.
Daddy Ass is an integral part of that act. But yes, I'll give a. But yeah, William Regal was excellent, and everything he did was so much fun. And I wish him the best in the backstage capacity in WWE. But thanks for the near year that you gave us in AEW. It's like the golden years of William Regal.
And hopefully we get to see him soon, eventually, and on screen in WWE too.
By the way, don't ever suggest that Jose's last name is anything but the assistant. Thank you.
Well, maybe the assistant is his middle name. Jose the Assistant Garcia.
No, his middle name is the. You can
have multiple middle names. Commentator is next. And I might be forgetting a name or two, especially when it comes to like AEW Dark or, I mean, you can kind of get like some people in here like Chris Jericho, Ricky Starks that are guest commentators, but frequently became guest commentators. Mostly this revolves down to Excalibur, Jim Ross, Paul White, Taz, and Tony Schiavone. I don't think Mark Henry really did much commentary this year, did he? Or is he just a backstage thing? I had him down for a commentator, but I actually can't remember him doing commentary.
No, I don't think they had him do commentary after CM Punk debuted, and he just said, wow. So I think they quickly moved him from that to just saying it's time for the main event, and everybody loves him for it.
I think he did a couple of Dark and Dark Elevation ones.
He might have, yeah. I have him down just in case, but I mean, he's not going to win anything for me either, because my worst is Jim Ross. Pains me to say it, but it's just true. He's not the JR that he used to be.
Yeah, I mean, objectively, yes. Like, it's Jim Ross. Mostly because, again, it goes back to that same theme for me of breaking your own heart of like, but it's JR, and it's just not.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
occasionally, surly JR is a lot of fun. You know, like if you just let it go for one or two things, and it's very fun. Like when I think Kiera Hogan was wrestling Athena, and he just started going, yeah, I'm a bitch, I'm the bitch. And JR saying I'm the bitch is fantastic. Or him saying, yo, listen, when the Acclaimed come out. A lot of fun. But it's also ultimately it's like, man, you're not the guy that you were, and I miss the guy that you were.
I don't know if it's a lack of like, maybe it's like a laziness kind of thing, like a lack of care, or he does just get mixed up from having been a WWE commentator for so many years. But the amount of times that he's popped up on Botchamania to just be like, all right, welcome to like Monday Night Raw. I mean, Monday Night Raw. And it's like, oh my God, man. Like it's Dynamite's plastered all over the place. What the hell? It's Rampage, or, you're talking about like Friday Night SmackDown or something. And the WWE championship and all, the amount of times that he can call somebody like Claudio Cesaro, and then you got Excalibur stepping in and being like, yep, Claudio's his name, Claudio, you know, it just gets to a point where,
I mean, to be fair though, they did rectify the situation. He's currently only doing Rampage, only doing the 1 hour show.
But still, they're rectifying it by saying he's not there as much, so he can't make as many mistakes. It's really bad. It's, instead of it just being like, he did a crash course on all the names, and now he remembers them and he does better. Their solution was go away.
It's a respect thing. It's like, we're not going to tell you to go away, but
yeah.
we'll
but please don't stick around. That's 2 votes for Jim Ross. Are you making it a 3 for Callum?
Out of the regular commentary teams, yes, he is unfortunately been the weakest member of that group. But like, I'm not super keen on Mark Henry when he did it occasionally. He still hasn't got any better in the small glimpses he has of doing commentary. And I'm not a huge fan of either Paul White or Chris Jericho on commentary.
I honestly can't even say much about Paul White's commentary because he's doing dark and I don't watch it. But I don't remember being a fan of it when I was listening.
Yeah, Paul White to me is inoffensive. I think Jericho is unfortunate because there was a point where we thought he was going to be really good at it, and then he's just not.
He became obnoxious.
He's a bit too loud, yeah, and overexcited. But yeah, I think this was the year that it kind of turned on me that, yeah, Jim Ross is probably been in this gig a year or two too long.
He just wants to make it through, I believe, next year, so he can say he did 50 years.
Oh, that would be his anniversary for that?
I believe so, yes.
Huh. Yeah, then that might be a good time to hang it up. Yeah. Now, on the positive side of things, I think that there are 2 really, really strong commentary members and 1 really, really fun member of commentary, where essentially what I'm going for here is Tony Schiavone and Excalibur are great. And Taz is hilarious.
Yes. That being the new Dynamite team works so well. Schiavone is my favorite commentator just because I love that he got the second chance. But objectively, Excalibur is probably the best.
He's my pick, yeah.
And the 1-2 punch with the... Well, watch Dark. Just watch Taz and Excalibur riff on everybody that walks the curtain and just go, yeah, this guy here, old Blue Pants Jones over here. And I watch Dark every week for the commentary, and who can really say that about a wrestling show?
It's so much better than the action. Just the way that they riff off of each other, and you can tell that they're buds and they're breaking each other's balls, and when one of them makes a mistake and the other one will just like call back to it and all, like that's exactly what you need to be hearing, because I'm not paying any attention to the fucking Shooter McGee against whatever. I don't know his names. Sign him. Shooter McGee is all elite. But I'm going to lean more towards Excalibur than Schiavone, but it's like almost just barely too. And I think maybe if anything, it's just because Excalibur is holding down the fort constantly, whereas Schiavone sometimes will step outside and whatever. And Excalibur also has that unfortunate task of, can you read off the card in like 30 seconds? And he's just going to go, okay, and then start going through and doing that in speed round. 2 votes for Excalibur. Making it a 3 for Callum.
Well, first I'll give my honorable mentions to Taz, because Taz is great. Like as you said, he's just hilarious. But he also has great wrestling insight. So you know, he is a great balance between 2 of them. And Tony Schiavone's great. And I also want to give credit to Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, who is so much fun on Dark and Dark Elevation. Like he should be someone they're grooming to be the next big commentator for them.
Like a Jerry Lawler kind of heel.
Yeah, definitely. Just not creepy.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of, you know what makes nipples hard types. Puppies do. That's what it is.
Yeah. of course we can't exclude William Regal, because whenever he was on commentary, everyone was listening. There's compilations on YouTube of everything that he said to Excalibur on commentary. It's great.
Yeah.
And one that I think should get more credit than will get mentioned on this point, especially, and probably might not get mentioned due to his Ring of Honor allegiance, but Ian Riccaboni.
Yeah.
He's a really, really solid commentator.
I'm not a fan of the ROH commentary team.
I think Riccaboni is one of the best play-by-play guys, and I think he should step in when Shivani and JR are done. I think he's that good. I think Caprice Coleman replace him with someone. I think he's a little bland to me, but I really enjoy Riccaboni's work.
Caprice is the one between the two that I'm not as fond of. At the very least, I'd love saying the name Ian Riccaboni. That's one of my more. It's Ian Riccaboni and Yuka Sakazaki are so fun to say.
but yeah, just to cut it short there, at that point it is a free for, because Excalibur does so much for that commentary team. He's the foundation on which that commentary team can thrive.
Alrighty, look at that, Excalibur. I think this might be like the second or third year in a row that we might have given him all that.
No, Rob always goes for Shivani.
Oh.
Do I really?
You did last year, and I think the year before that you went with Shivani.
I think I explained why, but yeah.
And I went with Taz last year as well.
Huh.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, at least this year you got 3 for. I'm pretty sure that I went with Excalibur all the times around. I don't know. In any fashion, we're moving over to the best and the worst newcomer to the roster. Technically speaking, you can talk about managers and everything too. It doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who's just purely in the ring. But some of the options that we got going on, one of the most recent ones, Action Andretti, AR Fox, Ari Daivari, Bandito, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, Claudio Castagnoli, Danhausen. We got Jeff Hardy. I don't know if he would constitute somebody like a Juice Robinson potentially being in there, because they haven't really said what's going on and if he's signed, if he's not, if he is to ROH, if he's to AEW. All that ROH type crossover is sort of, yeah, if you want to count them, go ahead. Fucking, we're not going to stop you. But at the same time, if you want to say the reason I didn't pick them is because I'm going strictly AEW, you can do that too. We're in that weird spot with AEW and ROH where the line's not drawn for a full-on division yet. So we also have Keith Lee, Konosuke Takeshita. We've got Parker Boudreaux, Rush El Toro Blanco, Samoa Joe, Sanjay Dutt, Swerve Strickland, W. Morrissey, now known as Big Bill. I have to switch that over on there. Athena, Madison Rain, Mercedes Martinez, Paige Van Zant, Saraya, Willow Nightingale. And you could also argue a lot of people that just tend to pop up a lot on AEW Dark. You know, you've got names like the Leon Ruffin, Jake Something, Cole Carter. A lot of people, it's WWE has a different sort of setup than what they do with AEW, and AEW still doesn't have a solid, hey, these are people that are employed, these people are coming in for a guest spot, these people are for this, that kind of thing. It's really frustrating, but you know, if you have somebody in mind, make the case for them. When it comes to my worst, I have a few that stood out to me. Originally, I had Athena on this list, but she won the ROH Women's title, so that kind of takes her out. The few that I have been bouncing around are Danhausen, for reasons that I've said before. Doesn't work for me.
It feels like he's been there for 2 years, but I guess he did just show up and beat Brig, didn't he?
I don't know the specific dates of when most people signed and stuff, but I have him down as a new one, so I trust past Tony. I don't know. Jeff Hardy, for obvious reasons. Parker Boudreaux, Madison Rain, Paige Van Zant, and Saraya. Those are the ones that I'm kind of working with.
I think you can make an argument for Paige. I think you can make an argument for Paige, but but ultimately Van Zant's only had one match, and Saraya's just getting started again. I'll go first because I think it might be echoed. It's Jeff Hardy for me. Heartbreaking. I don't know if I want to see him wrestle anymore. I just want him to be healthy. but the way that things might end for him is really, really sad.
Yeah, I think that out of the list I have people like Madison Rain and Layla Gray, Paige Van Zandt, the whole collective of the Truth Busters.
Mm-hmm.
The
Jeff Jarrett.
Trustbusters, yeah.
Trustbusters, whatever. Jeff Jarrett, for obvious reasons.
He's fantastic.
Snap nuts. And but it's obviously Jeff Hardy.
For reasons that are, we've talked about it in some other different categories, but it's the level of disappointment compared to the level of what somebody at his level should produce. I mean, we're talking a multi-time former world champion here, one of these like Hall of Fame type names, one of those uber popular pro wrestlers, and really not worked out. So yeah, I might go ahead and make that another trio vote for Jeff Hardy, because even though I don't dig the Danhausen thing, other people do. And Paige Van Zandt, she pops up for a guest spot. Yeah, they signed her, but really it seems like they mostly signed her just so she could technically be part of it, and then she just disappeared. And I'll give Saraya a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Her promos have been shit, but yeah, whatever. On the positive side of things, thankfully there has been some good people. Wheeler Yuta, technically this year, is a new signing, and he's had a hell of a year. We've had Samoa Joe is another person that I've, of course, really liked because I like Samoa Joe. I know that one of the major options and potentially your pick, Takeshita, Callum.
Yeah, I think really gun to my head, he's been there are so many great people that have debuted this year, but just for someone that I see so much excitement for the future, and someone who just on a pure match by match basis just kills it all the time, and I'm so excited to see develop as part of this promotion. I want him to win championships next year. I want him to fight for the world championship, not necessarily win it next year because there's a lot that will have to revolve around the world title, but to be a featured star and have some big feuds. Yeah, I think Takeshita is the best newcomer to the company.
I'm not going to go Takeshita, but hats off to putting on some great performances and all. Instead, I'm going to go Claudio Castagnoli. I think that, winning the ROH title twice, being somebody who comes in as this big, like, groundswell of support, his part in Blackpool Combat Club, its matches, he has succeeded all across the board for me.
I agree, and had it not been the case that for two certain individuals, I would absolutely agree with you that it's Claudio. For me, it's a tie for the same reasons for Samoa Joe and Saraya, because they can wrestle again and they weren't going to. And I'm always happy when a talent can wrestle again. And I think that Joe has shown glimpses of the Samoa Joe that we know and love. And I'm hoping that within a year from now, Saraya will be doing some of the best work of her career. She is only like 30, maybe 31. And I'm so glad that both of them are able to wrestle and finish their careers properly on their own terms.
Also say, just before we move on to it, to major shout out to Tony Storm.
Mm-hmm. If you weren't gonna say it, I was gonna say also shout out to Tony Storm.
Yeah, and both members of Swerve and Not Glory. They were great as a team this year as well. So yeah, a lot of people joined the promotion that have helped elevate it and ride them through some rough waters throughout this year.
And then you get some people that create some rough waters like Jonathan Gresham and Bobby Fish, and
Yeah, I almost actually went for Jonathan Gresham as the worst one, but at least he had a couple of good matches.
So
actually, Fish was last year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's why he's not into my italicized thing. It's hard to keep track of these, and for anybody that's wondering when it comes to next year, I'm going to have the same exact pages up. It's just going to be, tweaking the information and all. So if you ever notice on the different pages that are on there for like the tag teams list or anything, you ever notice anything that's like just an error on my part, always let me know. every so often I'll get a thing where somebody's like, hey, doubled up on putting this person as like a member of like the AEW Dark regulars list versus being on the main roster or something like that. Or, you know, this person's been released and you have them under the released and you still have on the other part. Or obviously plenty of people double tracking those heel and face turn lists and stuff. But yeah, keep me posted. Let me know if you ever see anything that's different for that, because we're going to have a whole new set coming up for January 1st. But let's talk about those tag teams. Moving over to that award, the best tag team or stable or faction, and the worst when it comes to that. This factors in trios. This factors in regular tag teams, just like, you know, one-on-one type or two-part duo types. Lots of different tag teams, and a lot of them are subdivisions and all this kind of complicated shit where it's like, okay, the elite is technically these key people, but these people are not constituted, but they're friends and they're allies and all this. So there is a wide variety of what you could pick from this one. But I am ultimately going to go with, for my worst, one of those teams that is multiple teams all slapped together and nobody knows what the fuck they're doing with them. And it doesn't even seem like it's officially gone away, even though it really should have months ago. This Andrade Hardy family office is just terrible. Why are Private Party, the Butcher and the Blade, Matt Hardy, the Hybrid 2, which one of them's gone, and Andrade and Jose and Roosh and all these other people, but Preston Vance is now a part of this, but you're not a part of that, but you're part of the other one, but you're going to team with those people because they're a part of it. And Hardy doesn't need to be there, but he's there because he lost. And the fucking Cole Carter pops up for a minute, but he's also part of the factory, but he's also part of the firm. But what the hell?
To be clear, I think the Andrade Hardy family office thing is dead. I think the firm has currently got the contracts of the Hardy Party and that trio. And I think the Butcher, Blade, and Bunny are kind of back to being on their own, and they kind of have Penelope around them as well.
Way too much crossover.
What you're saying.
They just they'll have matches on Dark, and it'll just be like the Butcher and the Blade and Isaiah Cassidy and Roosh or something. And it's just like, I don't know where you're going with this. Knock it off.
That is not mine. Although it's a great, great pick. Special shout out to me. I don't care how much people like them. For the Dark Order. Don't know why they're a thing. Just kind of kindly do away with them, please. And this year, there was a thing called the Undisputed Elite. And I've talked already about how much it hurts that we're not going to see the Undisputed Era trio against the Elite trio, or at least it doesn't look likely at the moment. Maybe, who knows, if we still got some time. Maybe by Revolution things are different. And that would be my number one choice, except technically, at the start of this year, the Pinnacle was still a thing, and I want to shit on how much they have wasted the Pinnacle, because that faction should have kicked all the ass, and it did nothing. They did nothing with what should have been your core heel faction forever. MJF, FTR, Wardlow, Shawn Spears as the guy who could lose but is also a really good hand. You fucked that up. And Tully Blanchard, I'll go right back there. And Tully Blanchard, you fucked it up. It's the Pinnacle. Should have never dropped the ball there.
Quite a few options. Men of the Year.
Yeah, I thought American Top Team was going to be your pick.
Yeah, that's an option as well. The Firm, the Factory. I already mentioned the Trustbusters. Tully Blanchard Enterprises, because as soon as they debuted, the guy that actually is the moniker for the team just disappeared. The Pinnacle, as Rob mentioned as well, and the Dark Order is the sad one because just how it's just disintegrated throughout the year. And there's the Blondes, because I thought that they would do better.
And then there's the Blondes,
because they're just like they were seemed to be a breakout team last year, or someone that they'll build up them this year, and they just lost everything. It felt they lost their manager, they lost their name, and they're virtually non-existent now. I think the likelihood is that Brian Pillman Jr. will go somewhere else.
Like away from AEW.
Yeah, I would anticipate so. If he doesn't, then it's not like it's like out there predicting it right now. But I would imagine if he wants to get more exposure or do more prominent things, then he would go somewhere else. I mean, he's more often I've seen him teaming on the indies with Brock Anderson. This is like a new Four Horsemen thing.
Which Brock's deal is coming up pretty soon.
But I think overall I'm probably going to go with the firm because it just feels like a weird mismatch of people that they came out and they did that promo where they all talked about their ambitions and none of them have done anything about it. Like they came out, that one promo with Stokely Hathaway talks about all of them they want to do. The Guns wanted to become Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. They're not doing that at the moment. Lee Moriarty wanted to be the pure champion. He then just ended up fighting Hook for the FTW title and lost. And now he's just teaming with Big Bill, who didn't actually say that he wanted anything, but he's not really doing much anyway. And Ethan Page got far in that tournament to crown the number one contender, but just feels like he's lost in the shuffle now. He's not even going after the All Atlantic title like he said he would. So they all just seem like they're doing nothing right now. And now the main thing they're doing is like putting Matt Hardy and Private Party into like slavery. It feels like pretty much like just like so basically, we've got control of your contract. So that's basically it's a whole story about contracts against your will, which just doesn't work. Just quit. They can't stop you from quitting. Bad. It's a bad angle and a bad act. I think they need to find some sort of coherence with it.
On the positives, there's a couple that I think are all kind of fighting for some good spots here. I think a lot of people are going to have either Blackpool Combat Club or Jericho Appreciation Society as their picks. And I also have the Acclaimed as my top three.
I think honorable mentions to Swerve in Our Glory. You can never not say the Elite and the Young Bucks. As long as they're going, they're great. Death Triangle and Lucha Brothers, same thing. As long as they are in the ring, they are fantastic. For me, it's going to be the BCC because that was a thing I didn't even know I would ever get or that I needed. And then they had fun, and then they took the madness photos, and BCC was great. Especially because now we know it was just a one-year deal with Regal. Makes it even better.
Well, in which case, if you're going with BCC and you've said that your top three are between BCC, JAS, and the Acclaimed, I'm going with FTR. Because they ruled this year.
Yeah. I'm stupid. You're right.
I know the Acclaim came on really strong at the back end of the year, and BCC was a lot of fun throughout the year, and so was Jericho Appreciation Society. But in ring and winning so many championships outside of the AEW one, but FTR were just killing it in the ring, and they were so over, and they were just as great as the babyface as they were as a heel act. And I got to see them live in London when they came over with New Japan.
Yeah, they had a great wrestling year. Even outside of AEW, they just had a great year.
Yeah. So fundamentally, if one of you two were going with FTR, I probably would have gone with one of the other ones because I think there were just so many great factions that I think this is one we can't do a free-for on because we might as well spread the love to how many great they were. But so if you guys aren't going to go for them, then FTR, you're going to get it from me.
I think I end up pretty much just going, I think I might have to tie Blackpool Combat Club and Jericho Appreciation Society because I don't think one works without the other.
Well, hopefully it does, because I want to see Danielson and Mox and Garcia, not Garcia, and Yuta and Claudio still doing shit outside of the JAS.
Yeah, I'd want them to have another feud at some point.
I mean, I'm down for it, for sure.
Imagine if the Pinnacle existed.
Let's move over to best and worst heel. of the year. And yeah, they blur the line a little bit when it comes to this stuff. So it's a little bit harder for us to just be like, okay, this person's 100% a heel, this person's 100% a babyface, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, I mean, for the most part, you can tell what some of those characters lie. So my worst options for heels, the 4 that I have written down, technically 5 because one's like a package deal. I guess maybe more than 5, but I had specifically Aaron Solo as part of the factory because I think that he just offers nothing. Like, at least QT Marshall's the leader and Nick is the heavy of the group where you could see him beating the shit out of somebody. Aaron Solo, I think, is just around. Just there. Tony Nese has been very ineffective as a heel. So he was somebody I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to. And then you've got this collection of Vicky Guerrero, Nyla Rose, and Marina Shafir.
I assume that's where you're going because you don't know her.
Understand this. Marina Shafir is my pick. For reasons we've talked about it a million times already, so, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. It's the factory. For me, I whatever. You were a group based on the Codyverse that no longer exists and exists in a different time. So it's the factory because you had nothing to do.
If you go with the perspective of a heel that gets a babyface reaction, you could easily go with either MJF or a Jade Cargill, because they actually are more likely to be cheered. But we'll get to MJF maybe in the next one. But I've already mentioned about the Trustbusters. Don't like them. The Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir one makes sense. There's the Factory and the Firm as well, and Tony Nese, and Josh Woods, because they're just nothing. They don't get any reaction really. It's even worse than like being cheered as babyface, where you just you're just completely nothing to the people that you're performing in front of. But Kip Sabian had a box on his head.
Are you gonna say Kip Sabian plus the box?
The box is the worst heel. No, I just think that I get so wound up about how much they focused in on that, and how Excalibur would sometimes bring it up on commentary, and how you just occasionally just see a guy in a box in the crowd, and how it just led to absolutely nothing. And Kip Sabian's just doing something completely different now. So yeah, I'm going to go Kip Sabian, worst heel.
On the best side of the heels, special shout out to my runner-up options of Christian Cage. Lots of great promos that he cut this year. Chris Jericho holding down the fort quite a bit. The Ocho and all these other different variations of the Jericho Appreciation Society and all. But I still got to go with MJF. I'm bland, I know.
I think there's an argument that could be made. The answer to this question is CM Punk. That is not my pick, but I think there's some diehard AEW fans that would say that.
Is that real life heel rather than the character?
I don't want to drag this out. It's Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And for all the reasons that you know, he's just so committed to the bit that people think he's a genuine asshole. So, him.
I'm gonna make MJF an honorable mention just because he did get cheered quite a lot this year, where the point where they pretty much the crowd turning babyface for a little while. And then you also have, as you mentioned, Chris Jericho, Britt Baker. Britt Baker's always great. And yeah, she's one of the best talkers, and so she carries a lot of heat for that women's division. And Pac and his hammer. Who can forget Pac and his hammer? He's so much fun as a heel. And I'm actually really enjoying the dynamic of the Pac is a definitive heel, Phoenix is a babyface that's being cajoled into doing heel stuff, and Penta's just an agent of chaos that does whatever he wants. That dynamic really works for Death Triangle. But my best heel was Christian Cage. I thought when he was cutting those promos in Jungle Boy, he was getting the most heat out of anybody in AEW at that point. And yeah, I thought he had some really good stuff on the microphone this year. and I'm looking forward to him returning, hopefully, to the ring next year, and hopefully drawing a line under that Jungle Boy feud.
All right, well, let's move to the baby faces. Yeah, there's a good guys that were good. We got good guys that were bad. Good things are good, but some of these good guys weren't. The worst options that I got on here, for a little bit there, I had Athena again. She turned heel, so they've rectified that. I think that Jeff Hardy deserves a little bit of recognition, but I don't think that he's like worst babyface. Is just more of that like worst use of a babyface and all. Brock Anderson's so bland.
When did you see Brock Anderson wrestle?
I can't even tell you because of how bland it was. My runner-up though is Danhausen for the reasons I've said a million times. Not a character that I enjoy, but I'm actually going to go with Thunder Rosa here.
It's a good one.
Thunder Rosa was not only bland, but she was the champion. And I'm not going to be like, oh, she got injured and that's why she's the worst or whatever. But I feel like there was a lot of positive energy going in Thunder Rosa's direction at the beginning of this year that once she got the ball, it just tanked. And now she's got the backstage stuff, which is like, maybe where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe it's bullshit. I don't know. But there's potential that she's hard to work with backstage, which is not a very babyface way to do things. And there's not been a part of me that has really missed Thunder Rosa since she's been gone.
I respect that choice. It's a very good one. However, there was a point this year where Sammy Guevara was deemed a babyface.
Absolutely.
And people hate that fucking guy. Go ahead, Callum.
No, that's 100% the right answer. There's no other option than Sammy Guevara because he was... So Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello were both supposedly babyfaces and absolutely despised by the entire audience to the point where they had no choice but to turn them back heel. Yeah, it's absolutely they're the worst babyfaces.
I mean, I cheered for him.
Okay. Go back and listen to Review to a Kill when you frequently go, God, I love assholes so much.
I was saying Guevara.
And you make a character that's enough of a jerk, and I'm going to be like, maybe you should give him the belt. All I'm saying is Fran Sanchez was a great drug lord. Positive baby faces. Thankfully, we got a lot of those too. The Acclaimed, definitely up there on my list. They are so fun. They're so awesome. Jungle Boy, one of my perpetual favorite baby faces, especially when you have Christian Cage making fun of his family and, you know, running him down and all that. Perpetual underdog. Eddie Kingston, very, very good babyface. Lots of fun this year. Had some issues backstage, but that's another thing. Orange Cassidy is also very, very fun. Always one of my favorites, but I think I gotta ultimately go with Jon Moxley here.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say, of course it's Jon Moxley. He took this promotion and he put it on his back. And then he tried to get rid of it. And they put it right back on his back. So it's Jon Moxley. He's become Mr. AEW. As good as the Dean Ambrose run was, and I'm in the camp of fuck whatever you want to say, the Dean Ambrose run was good, and he got a lot done in that time. He is Mr. AEW. It's Jon Moxley.
Plenty of good options. Adam Page was great. FTR, such a good babyface after their heel run. Darby Allin, the eternal launching pad, or the just launching himself into people, and Sting. Everyone loves Sting.
It's Sting.
As you mentioned, Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston was the ultimate babyface because he slapped the shit out of Sammy Guevara backstage.
There you go.
Takeshita. I think everyone loves Takeshita. It amazed me how many people gravitated towards him when they probably knew very little about him when he started, and how many people are now just super behind him. And Orange Cassidy was great. Tony Storm was great. Wardlow, especially when he turned on MJF, he became the biggest babyface for a long time. And you mentioned Jon Moxley, and I would go with Jon Moxley, because of how great he's had, and we'll definitely mention that later on. But he's not always strictly a babyface. He is obviously still a babyface and he's popular, but he kind of goes between the lines. I mean, he teams with Bryan Danielson, who always comes out of the heel entrance. So I think he's someone who's willing to be flexible about whether he's heel or babyface. In which case, I'm going for top babyfaces are the Acclaimed. I don't
It's
think anyone
justifiable for that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is as popular as they are right at this moment. And yeah, they started the year as heels, but they got super, super over as the time went on. And like the Scissor stuff is great. So, and I think it's really, really resonating with a lot of people. So I mentioned earlier about that all-out match, like how many people in that audience were desperate for them to win. Just you didn't feel that. I didn't feel that as much with pretty much anybody this year about I'm so desperate for you to win this match than they were for the Acclaimed in that match.
All right. Well, we got the final 3 awards, or I guess the final 6 because we're doing best and worst. But the best and worst female wrestler of the year, the best and the worst male wrestler of the year, and ultimately, who is the best and the worst overall wrestler of the year. So we will do what we did with the WWE side of things. We'll talk about our options kind of grouped together a little bit because there is going to be some overlap. Of course, the likelihood that we will pick a worst for female and male and not pick one of those for the wrestler of the year worst is very slim, and so on and so forth. So I am just going to bury my lead when it comes to this. Marina Shafir is my worst of the female wrestlers of the year. And even though I'll go back and I'll talk about the overall worst wrestler of the year, I end up just going with her for my worst as well. I'll talk about the male side of that. But yep, Marina Shafir ultimately gets my lowest of the low.
I'll say Marina's at least tried. Paige Van Zandt had one match that wasn't very good. So that's probably mine. Not malicious or anything, just it wasn't very good, and I haven't seen her try to improve it yet.
She's her worst for the female side?
Yes.
Is she also for the overall, or did you go with the male?
I went with the male.
Okay. Callum, your worst for the female, worst overall, whatever it might be?
My runners-up for worst female, Paige Van Zandt, Abaddon, Layla Hirsch, Leva Bates, Sky Blue, and Nyla Rose.
But the winner is Marina Shafir?
Yeah, Marina Shafir is the worst.
Okay.
I'd say worst on promos, worst in the ring. And yes, she's my worst overall. Actually, no, she's not my worst overall because it's definitely a male, and we'll mention him when we get to it.
Don't make it a male joke, Tony.
I didn't think of it, but I'm disappointed that I didn't think of it. On the worst male wrestler of the year, then, a bunch of names that we've said a bunch of times. For me, at the very least, Aaron Solo, Brock Anderson. Yeah, we haven't seen anything from Captain Sean Dean that's really what to pay attention to.
He's the captain.
I don't think Danhausen, but I'm not going to give him my worst by any means. Jack Evans is a major contender for me on this one because he lost every bit of edge and then he left. I think a good chance for this could be Anthony Ogogo. Haven't had his name pop up. I think Jake Atlas, if you count him, they signed him, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
I thought that they had put that All Elite graphic up.
We're going to blame that on Jeff, Tony. They didn't sign him.
So I'm kind of bouncing around a lot of those options here. My gut reaction was to potentially go with Jack Evans, but you guys might sway me to another option.
So I have 2 people, and there's 2 people that overall I love, but I don't think you can underscore their negative impact enough this year. And that's unfortunately CM Punk and Jeff Hardy. I do think I'm going to ultimately go with Jeff Hardy just because he was endangering lives with driving as he was. CM Punk did a lot of bad this year, but damn it, he did a lot of good. I can't say the same for Jeff Hardy. So for me, it's Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy gets the overall worst. Very sad about it too.
Runners up for me: Parker Boudreaux. Don't think he's very good. Sonny Kiss. Still don't see anything in him, or her. Sorry, I don't want to.
Is Sonny Kiss going by that pronoun? No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't want to misgender.
It could be him or it could be him or her. You're good.
Yeah, I don't want to misgender them as well as say they're bad. That feels like it's just adding an extra layer onto it. Miro, just because we didn't see enough of him. Kip Sabian, because he wore a box on his head. Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Lee Johnson. Basically, most members of the factory and Cole Carter. Just, yeah. Everyone except QT, because I actually quite like QT. Andrade. Bad year for Andrade. And realistically, like Sammy Guevara as well. Not because he's a bad wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just, he's a lightning rod of hate, and it actually makes a lot of segments he's involved in worse. Because they're just concentrating on how much they hate him. Not as like a heel heat thing, it's an X-Pac heat thing, I feel. I think it's more X-Pac heat than legitimate.
They hate him, though. I don't think.
Yeah, they really hate him. They want him out of this promotion, yeah. But I'm going with Jeff Hardy as well. I just think he tarnished his reputation, which wasn't exactly the most solid thing anyway, going into this. Getting one final opportunity to team with his brother and just try and end on a high after the erratic way that he left WWE, and then just to completely squander it in a couple of months. And I don't really want to see him back or want to see him in really any promotion going forward. So yeah, Jeff Hardy is that, and he's also my worst overall wrestler of the year. It's just pure disappointment on his side of things. At least with Marina, we didn't have to endure Marina a lot unless you were watching Dark and Dark Elevation all the time. And yeah, she's bad, but Jeff is problematic as well as not having the greatest year in ring.
I think I might, you guys might have swayed me over to go with either like that Punk or Jeff side, because yeah, it's like, yeah, Jack Evans.
Yeah, like Jack Evans
but like then he fucking left, so it's like, whatever. But there's way more to talk about on the negative side of things with Punk and Hardy. So I'll go with those two as a tie. But let's end on positives. Best of the male, female, and wrestler of the year overall. Man, I really wish that I could have eventually gone with Serena Deeb for the best female wrestler. She had something going there for a little bit, and then she just dropped off. But I think that this kind of comes down to me, the three options that I had for best female wrestler of the year for AEW are Dr. Britt Baker, Jade Cargill, and Toni Storm.
Those are my three as well.
Who'd you end up going with?
For the sheer consistency of it all, I'm going with Britt Baker. She, as I will gush over Mr. AEW one more time in 5 seconds, Britt Baker is Miss AEW. That promotion is hers, that division is hers, and she does everything she can to hold the company together.
Callum, what about you?
So all three of the people that you mentioned are very worthy potential winners of this, but they're all runners up for me. As is Thunder Rosa, because I think that people, with the way that the title run went and how it's kind of the year ended for her, they had to forget that she was super, super over at the start of the year and did have that great match with Britt Baker to win the championship. And then two other ones which are definitely not going to win it, but had really good years until, well, in Chris Statlander's case, until the injury. But she was looking really good at the start of the year. I thought that she was being poised to be the person to beat Jade Cargill. And then Willow Nightingale, because she is so much fun. A great addition to the roster. And hopefully I have the likelihood that she's going to probably be utilised a lot on Ring of Honor moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be good.
I think she's the next Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
That would be a good option. But my best female wrestler is Jamie Hayter. Ended the year as Women's Champion and just built momentum throughout the course of the year. The crowd got super behind her. She's having great matches. She's such a a physically strong and impressive performer. I think she's a model of consistency. So, yeah, I think this was Jamie Hayter's year, and she ended it on top.
So now, is anybody going with...
Is anyone going with anyone not named Jon Moxley?
Well, for the overall wrestler of the year, are you going with your female choice?
No.
Is anyone going for anyone not named Jon Moxley?
Well, you could make a case for some other people. Like, I have some runners up of at the beginning of the year. Adam Page was there. He kind of fell off with that. Bryan Danielson's done a lot of good stuff this year. I wouldn't make the case for Jungle Boy being at the very, very top, but I just still want to give a little bit of a shout out to Jungle Boy. You could say Claudio, and I think you can make a case for him. You could say Chris Jericho, and I think you can make a case for him. But I do think that it's ultimately down to, do you go with MJF or do you go with Jon Moxley? And
MJF disappeared for several months this year.
Yeah, as much as I would love to say, yeah, MJF just wins fucking everything because he's great, Jon Moxley was the anchor. You got to go Jon Moxley.
Jon Moxley was in case of fire, break glass. Oh my God, there's been multiple fires. What do we do here, John? Jon Moxley, again, he is synonymous with this promotion for me. I don't care what he did as a member of the Shield. He will forever be tied to AEW and putting in the hours to make sure that this promotion survives from 2019 onward, really. We even lost Cody. There's a minute there where the Bucks weren't around and Kenny wasn't around. Jon Moxley carried this damn thing, and it was absolutely his year.
There's so many people that have I would say a case for this award, but like have had really great years. Like, I think it's going a bit underplayed even through these awards. I don't think we've mentioned him a few times, but how good a year Orange Cassidy had.
Yeah, I mean, he's won a title. He's had some really fantastic matches. He's also always a perpetually fun character.
And then Willie and Daniel Garcia were pretty much 1A, 1B for the BCC and Jericho Appreciation Society. The Young Bucks as a tag team are great. Dax Harwood as a singles guy was awesome. We've already gushed over people like Darby Allin and Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Pac and Bryan Danielson. You've already mentioned MJF, and I would class CM Punk more in the best than the worst, because when he was on this year, there was few people better on the microphone, and he was having great matches as well. And the fact that you've both said Moxley makes me really want to say Chris Jericho, because it's just how good of a year he had. It's unbelievable how good he was in the ring and just on the mic and everything this year, considering his age and how long he's been doing it. And the fact that he has every right out of anybody to phone it in and just take the paycheck. But and
then he did a barbed wire match.
He had a barbed wire match, and he got swung on a cage 20 feet, like 15 feet in the air. And he wrestled so often, and it was always a good quality. And yeah, but you can't look past Jon Moxley and how much effort he put into the company this year. Considering the fact that he ended last year, like, going through rehab and the toll that took on him, and having to give up his opportunity to wrestle for the World Championship and having to build himself back up, immediately getting into that feud with Bryan Danielson and building himself into the Blackpool Combat Club, and then just through the year just being the go-to guy to, yeah, we're in serious trouble with our world title situation. Who's the most reliable guy we've got? We've got Jon Moxley. Let's give him the title. Have him still be in the heart of the biggest feud that the company was having at the time, which was the Blackpool Combat Club versus Jericho Appreciation Society, through into Blood and Guts. And yeah, just having a blockbuster year in the ring, cutting great promos all the time, becoming the torchbearer for the entire promotion. Yeah, I think you can't look any further than Mox as both best male wrestler and best overall wrestler of the year.
We got a 3-fer. Shout out to Jon Moxley for pulling that off when it was completely not expected of him. And you start the year off with Hangman Page, and you go into what's supposed to be CM Punk's year, and then it ends up being Jon Moxley wins the AEW World Championship for the second time to create a record, and then he wins it for the third time to create an even bigger record on top of that. We are ending the year with MJF as champion, but I think he is the champion of champions when it comes to that. And maybe when it comes back around to the end of the year for 2023, we might end up saying that MJF is the guy. We might end up saying that Moxley ended up having to pick up the ball again. Who knows? But that's going to be what's fun to track over the course of these next 12 months. So, reminder, let us know what you picked for all of these awards for not just AEW, for WWE as well. What you agree with, what you disagree with, what are you looking forward to when it comes to next year? Who do you think could potentially end up being our picks for this? You got like a tag team in mind that you're like, nope, this year I think it's going to be this tag team and all. These are all things we'll factor in when we talk about our one to watch at the beginning of the year, because it's really evolved past the one to watch. It's really become the one to watch in certain divisions for AEW and WWE. What's the one tag team to watch in this company? What's the one in the women's division for this company, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just because we keep adding more and more stuff as time goes on. Look at our Mount Rushmores. We start off with the 4 people, then we do 20 lists within the 4. But we know that you guys love the more content that we can bring, which hopefully that means that you've enjoyed the roughly 11, 12 hours worth of the end of the year awards. Man, I remember when this used to be a lot easier to record, but hopefully you did like all that. And if you want us to adjust anything going forward in the future, let us know about that too. We could always make some tweaks. And follow us all over the place on all the different platforms in the ways that we've said a million times by now. But if you don't know, for instance, go to smarkoutmoment.com. Start clicking on all those different accounts. Go to anthonymango.com to see a list of everything like Fanboys Anonymous for my geek culture stuff. Follow on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment for Fanboys Anonymous. Follow those accounts too. Follow me at Tony Mango. Support us on Redbubble and TeePublic and Patreon and YouTube's channel membership subscriptions. And follow what these guys have going on with everything that they are involved in. Rob?
Yep. Follow me at DeFelice. Check me out on WrestleZone, Fightful, and Inside the Ropes. Thank you for coming along this journey this year, and we will do it again next year. Callum?
You can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. You can check out the Power Rankings, my weekly contribution, over on the Smark Out Moment website, and there you'll also find the Fantasy League, which I've been tracking with all 3 of our teams throughout the course of the year. So you can keep in touch with that and keep tracking the scores yourself by heading there or going to wwefantasyleague.com. And yeah, thanks for checking out all of these awards, and look forward to maybe a less newsworthy 2023. I think we need a break.
Yeah. At least if it comes to a newsworthy type of year, hopefully it's positive news. And like, oh my God, crazy things happening, but how cool is this? And not the world's on fire kind of material that we've been getting.
You know what they say, Tony? No news is good news.
Oh, I know somebody that says no news is bad news. R.I.P. Carver. Alrighty, everybody. That's going to do us in for the AEW End of the Year Awards. But we still have more content from Smark Out Moment Smack Talk coming throughout this year, because we have one more podcast that we are going to be recording over the course of next week, which is going to combine Wrestle Kingdom predictions, the hot tags, and the end of the year recap for just telling you what's been going on with Smark Out Moment, what your responses were for the fan feedback survey. Again, go ahead and vote on that if you haven't done that already. Fill out that little questionnaire because it helps out quite a bit. And what our plans are for 2023, a little bit of a calendar breakdown, and anything else we decide to talk about. So that's coming up around like the 28th. Maybe we record on the 27th, maybe on the 29th. I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet. It's only the 16th of December when we're recording this right now. So if anything does change over the course of these next few days when you're hearing this, then retroactively, we might put something in the comments about changing our opinions about something or whatever. But I think we're kind of locked in with a lot of these. And drop your comments below and enjoy the holiday season. We will see you when we see you. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.